Oh, wonderful. Now we're back to learning this wonderful speech that the Rebbe gave in 1988. And the Rebbe is speaking about two different levels of Mashiach. And this relates to two different sentences that it says in the prophets that God said that King David will be a nasi, a leader for them forever, a king for them forever. And another sentence that says, and I will stand up King David as a king for them. And so the Gemara says, what do you mean you will stand up King David? It says that King David is going to be forever. It says, and the Gemara says, Keser v'palge Keser, that King David is going to be a king and a half king. And the Rebbe said, why use the word Kesar? Say king. And what does it mean, a king and a half king? What does that mean? A king and a half king. Is it going to be a different King David? It's going to be the same King David. It says that David's going to be forever. So what does it mean, a king and a half king? And the Rebbe is going to relate this. The reason he began this whole topic is because there's two meals that we make in Judaism for Mashiach. One of them is every Motzei Shabbat. As soon as Shabbat goes out, we make Havdalah, and then we're supposed to make a little meal called the meal of King David, the King Messiah, of King David, the Messiah. Surat Dovid Malka Mashiach, it says, that we make every Saturday night after Shabbat goes out. And then the Hasidim make once a year, the last day of Passover, we also make a Mashiach meal. What's the difference between them? And that's the Rebbe is going into this now, these two levels of Mashiach. Okay, so the Rebbe explained to us, I'm just doing a small summary, explained to us the main novelty of Mashiach is that he's going to change the whole world. All mankind will come to serve only the Creator. This has never been in the history of the world. Mashiach is going to come, yes, to gather the Jews together, but the Jews were already gathered together once. In the time of the first temple, they were gathered together. The Mashiach will come to reveal godliness to the world. Well, godliness was already revealed at Mount Sinai when God split the sea. Godliness was revealed. True, not in a permanent way, but at least in not everywhere in the world. But the main novelty of the Mashiach is that he's going to educate and convince all humanity, every human being, to worship the God that's creating them. Every single person is being created by God, and every person in the world will feel this. And every person in the world will just want to do what his Creator wants. That's the Torah. The only time God ever revealed himself in the world to everyone and told them what he wants was when God gave the Torah to Mount Sinai. True, he didn't reveal it openly to everyone, but he revealed it to all the Jews, and the whole world knew about it. It says when the Torah was being given, millions of people saw it. So that's the main novelty of Mashiach. He's going to convince the whole world. And therefore, says the Rebbe, that's why the Mashiach is called Kesar, because he's even going to convince the leaders of Rome, which Rome is the lowest and the big source of the exile that we're in. They were the ones that destroyed the first temple, the second temple. They were the ones that destroyed the second temple, and they were the cause of this exile that we've been in for almost 2,000 years. And they're the ones that tried to hijack the Torah, and they were the ones that always are trying to convert all the Jews to leave Judaism, right? They tried to make a new Judaism and a new testament and a new this and a new that. And Mashiach is going to come and convince. He's not going to destroy anybody necessarily. There won't be any destructions unless there's going to be people that can't live in a good world. So they'll be happy not to get out of the world. Okay, but Mashiach will have this superpower that he will be able to convince all of the world to just take a good look at what reality really is. How are you here? God is creating you. All humanity will feel this. Therefore, the Mashiach is going to have some superhuman powers to do this. Why? Because this world is super important to God. This physical world was created from the essence of God. True, it was concealed and etc., but it's still from the essence of God, it's concealed. So therefore, because it's so tremendously high, the world is high and important to God. So God will therefore bring Mashiach, that Mashiach is going to be able to draw from this importance of this physical world and change the whole physical world. Therefore, he's going to be like a king. Okay. On the other hand, the chiddush, the novelty which Mashiach will bring, is not to negate the world, not to destroy anything in the world, and not to negate any of the natural conduct of the world. The laws of nature will not change from the world. Was der Eibishter, which God had in ihr arrangestellt. On one hand, the Mashiach is going to be miraculous. He's going to be miraculous. He's going to do things that the whole entire world is going to be convinced to change their priorities, to drop their religions, to stop thinking about going to heaven, to stop being worried about the future, to stop being guilty for absolutely no reason at all, to start feeling how good we really are. So that's going to be miraculous. But on the other hand, Mashiach wants there to be a regular, normal world. Nor does hate oif in Mila than Teva, but he'll just elevate nature to be above nature. And every human being will feel how important they are. Listen, why do people do stupid things, destructive things, negative things? Because they have no love. They don't even know what it means, love. They don't have any true appreciation for things without thinking about themselves, truly selfless feelings. People say, what is love? Love is you just have a good time, you have sex, you have whatever it is, that's love. Right? Like a person loves to eat fish, so he eats the fish. He doesn't love the fish, he loves himself. That's why he eats the fish. Right? People love themselves. They just want to have a good feeling, they want to do this. True love means you appreciate the uniqueness of something outside of you. Ideally, that's the purpose of the Torah, that we can actually, from love of God, we can do what God wants, we can say what God wants, we can think what God wants, we can give ourselves over to the Creator. That's what it's supposed to be. That's what Mashiach is going to bring to the whole entire world. But on the other hand, the world is supposed to be a natural world. God wants there to be a world. He doesn't want everybody to be walking around like zombies. So Leish Lamar, we can say, as das is the in, that's the idea, what it says, was in Zugang to them, to the Zugang, in addition to that, which the Mashiach, Vet Zayin der Keser, he's going to be a king, and he's going to do miracles and change the whole world miraculously, but Uhulatida, and bring the third temple from heaven, and all the Jewish people are going to all gather to the land of Israel and start doing the Torah, the commandments. But also that David HaMelech, King David, will also be, he'll be the Mashiach, and he'll be a king, he'll be something amazing, just like God is a king, in even more tremendous miracles, but he'll also be Palgi Keser. He'll also be a half king. What does it mean? Half king means that he won't have to do any miracles. The world will be natural, but it'll just do according to what God wants. The Chiora, it's not understood. Vipalt as the Davka Mashiach, because Mashiach is joined, is connected with with miracles. So like the days of going out of Egypt, I will show you miracles. The miracles Mashiach is going to do are going to make the miracles we went out of Egypt like nothing. There won't even be a... Because the Mashiach is going to do these amazing miracles, which is not King David. King David is Mitfurim, but Hanhaga Zateva. Right? You ever read the book of Psalms? I advise you to read the book of Psalms. Everything is totally natural. King David didn't do any miracles. The miracles that he did was he was miraculously saved from his enemies. But what did he have enemies in the first place for? If he did miracles, there shouldn't have been any enemies. King David was totally normal. He had wives and he had children and he had enemies and he had friends and he had to decide split-second decisions like a king. His Had Gadar Shtein, it should have said, Kesar, that the Mashiach is going to be a king. That's good enough. Voices Marumash was his hands at the Mashiach is going to do miracles. He's going to be a king above the world. Nor benogeyatsu Mashiach, but regarding to Mashiach, right? It should say that the Mashiach is going to be a king, Melech HaMashiach. Masha'inkim, which is not the case regarding King David. King David, it should say, he's going to be a secondary king, an assistant king, a viceroy. Roy is a king and viceroy is the assistant king, like a vice president. But Lashon HaKodesh, it should say Mishnah LaMelech. But the novelty with Mashiach is going to be in the future, Vet Oich Virken, he'll make also that nature. the nature, just like King David did, as oich in Welt, that even in the world, there should be a king. What does it mean? But not a complete king like the Melech HaMashiach will be, but it'll be a half king. What does it mean, a half king? What's his moram, as this hints at, as from ein side, that on one hand, Mashiach is going to be a Caesar. He's going to be like a king, totally above nature. Totally above nature. He'll judge people, he'll see things, he'll give advice that were just totally outside of humanity, how he knew things, right? There's unlimited stories about the Rebbe about this. That he could look at a person and tell if he's Jewish. Amazing story. I know somebody that went, he told me that his friend went to the Rebbe with a list of his children and he wanted a blessing, the names of his children. And the Rebbe looked at Chabad Chassid, and the Rebbe looked at the names and he pointed to one woman, a feminine name, and he said, "What is her French name?" It was someone from France. What is her French name? So her French name was, Louise or whatever her name was, right? So the Rebbe said, okay. They looked into, why did the Rebbe ask for her? It ends up that this particular girl had been adopted. And they went to the adoption agency to check the papers, and it ended up that her mother lied and said that she was Jewish in order to get the girl put there, but her mother was not Jewish. And the Rebbe looked at just the name of this girl, and he knew that there was, this makes no sense. The Lubavitcher Rebbe in the 6-Day War, everyone in the world was saying, get out of Israel, there's going to be a Holocaust, there's going to be this. And the Rebbe said, Israel is the safest place in the world. The war is going to be over in a few days. No one in the world agreed with him. And he was right, and everybody else was wrong. That's a small wisp of an example, right? The Rebbe said that the Iron Curtain is going to fall. Don't worry about it. No one in the whole world agreed. Gorbachev himself said that he didn't even know he was going to do such a thing like that. But when the Rebbe said it, that's a little sort of a tip of the iceberg of what it means. The king, above nature, totally above nature. Of course, the Rebbe has not yet brought the holy temple from heaven, etc. That's going to be real big miracles. That's the Kesar part. That's a king doing big miracles. This means that there's going to be a brand new nature in the world of the creation. Aber in them, but in this, there is also going to be a half king. What does it mean, a half king? Vile, because sof in the end is Zayin Inyan. The thing of the Mashiach is not to destroy the world, and it's not to make people, like I said, like lobotomized, and they're just going to say, walk around the street all the day saying, holy, 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 holy. And nobody's going to, right, just walking like the cartoon characters. Like, no, exactly opposite. The potential of every human being will be revealed. There'll be more love in the world, more people in the world, more diversity in the world, more, uniqueness in the world. We'll see different type personalities and talents and genius we never dreamed existed in humanity. The world will be a normal world. All potential in the world will just be open. Not miraculous, not in a miraculous way. That's Mashiach wants there to be a world, that there will be a world, the world that God created a world. He didn't create a world that should be destroyed so that we should go to heaven. God wants this world to be higher than heaven, but it should be natural. That's doing Torah and commandments, etc. If so, that's what it means. The Mashiach is going to be a king. He's going to do amazing miracles, and he's going to be a half king. That he's not going to do miracles. He's just going to make the world a miraculously good place. 1 second. There we go. Or in another way of saying it, Kesar and Palgi Kesar, a king, which means a Gentile king, relevant to the Gentiles. He'll do miracles, amazing. And Palgi Kesar, he'll conduct the whole world in a natural way, which will be according to nature, but perfect. How do you say healthy? Bedait, this indicates the joining which will be, this indicates the joining which will be in the future redemption. In two things. To meet in Kesidron, the world, the natural world as it is, sun rises up, there'll be days, months, winter, and Mosifin Kil Hasan, but there'll also be an addition to the world, big, amazing miracles. In other words, natural conduct and miraculous conduct. That's what Mashiach is going to do. So that Mashiach is going to be a Kesar, a full king. That's miracles. And there's going to be a half king, is going to be nature. In other words, this world is infinitely, infinitely good. And we don't need miracles to show it. That's what the half Mashiach is going to do. But on the other hand, there's going to be big miracles. And that's what Mashiach is going to do, just to sort of shake everybody up in the beginning. According to what is known as everything which is found, which is going to be in the future, it depends on what we do now. And nowadays, the Rebbe is not just explaining to us our conception of what world is. The Rebbe is telling us what we have to do. This is, how do you say, a workbook. We've got to do something. What do we have to do? Yesh Lomo, we can say, as oich it's that even now, Hatmen me'in, we have something like the two ways of Mashiach, a Kesar, Melech HaMashiach, and Palgi Kesar, and a half king, which is King David. Was does Zion and the Tzvei Suudos. This is the two meals that we make. The meal that we make, Sudas Dovid Melech HaMashiach, the Sudas Mashiach, that we make on the last day of Passover. This is me'ayin, this is like the Kesar. This is like the full king, miraculous. And the meal that we make every Shabbos, every Motzi Shabbos, this is like the king of Dovid, Malka Mashiach. This is like indicates the thing of Palgi Kesar, a half king, a natural king, like King David. Alpi Kolanal, according to everything we said before, Vetman Verstehen, we can understand the differences between the Mashiach meal on Passover and the meal of David, the King Mashiach, King David the Mashiach, which is Motzi Shabbos. When the Maila from Kaviyos Shana Zu, and this year especially, should be now understood. Okay, this year is a little bit different than when the Shabbos comes out. This year is a different date a little bit than when the Rebbe spoke, but it's still relevant. The meal of Dovid Malka Mashiach, of King David the Mashiach, which we make, 52 times a year, is Yeder Motzi Shabbos, comes every Motzi Shabbos. Well, thus is because this is more connected to nature and time and the world. A Seder Avoda, how we serve God now, which is not the case, the suit of the Mashiach, the meal of the Mashiach. This is a novelty. Nor ein mol, only one time in the year, and the last day of Passover. Well, thus is a remez. This hints at of the chiddush, the novelty and the miracle, was vet zayin beikar, which is going to be mainly in the future. And therefore, is does davka. This is on the last day of Passover, and in the month of Nisan. Nisan is the month of miracles, which is for Buna, which is connected to miracles. Un Achron, it's the last day of the Passover. This is the highest level of Passover. Passover means Passover, jumping over. We jump over all of our problems. We jump over. That's okay. The meal of King David that we make every Motzi Shabbos, this is connected more with nature, Teva. This comes after the service from below to above, the 6 days of the week, the Seder Masuda in an orderly way. Passover is jumping. The days of the week is normal, being in the world. From the Erster Gimel Sudas, from the 3 meals we had, also on Shabbos. We make a meal in the nighttime, we make a meal in the daytime, we make a meal in the afternoon of Shabbos, which is not the case, the suit of the Mashiach that we make on Passover, Pesach. This is above all, there's no order. All of a sudden we make a meal. Mashiach, this is a novelty on its own. The Passover Mashiach meal, this shows on how the Mashiach is going to be a total king above nature, jumping above nature like Passover. Versus nit verbund is not connected with any order of nature. Therefore, kommt es ha'achana as a preparation, an ha'achana, I'm sorry, without any preparation from any meals before that. Not like the meal of Dovid Mashiach that we make on Motzi Shabbos. This comes after the meals that we make on Shabbos in an orderly way. But that's number 2. Number 3, Mishas Miruftan, to say the meal, when we call the meal in Passover, the meal of Mashiach, not Dovid Mashiach. The meal that we make on Passover, the last day of Passover, is called the meal of the Mashiach. Is does kalal. This indicates everything about Mashiach, which is not the case when we say that the meal is Dovid Mashiach. This indicates the aspect of Mashiach which is limited to be like King David. VR is verbunden, how it's connected with the term David. And like I say, if you look at Psalms, you'll see that David was a very, very natural, mundane person, even though he was a king and he's the Mashiach. But he says that's the idea of Mashiach without the miracles. Well, the Hosef and to add on that Dovid state amol, sometimes it says without a yud. Sometimes it's written David with a yud over here, David with a yud before the dalid, David. Most of the time it's written without a yud. When a mol a yud, and sometimes it has a yud there. This indicates as in them Zayin and Shayach there is changes. David sometimes is with a yud, sometimes without a yud. Ubafrana sometimes that change from something, it's missing the letter yud. That the letter yud shows on victory. Sometimes King David was pursued. Sometimes King David was on the bottom, right? Everybody hated him. Everybody was running away. God, please save me. Hatzileni, mi Adam Ra, save me. And the Hagbala, which is not the case, the Melech Mashiach, Kesar, the full Mashiach, he's going to be victorious everywhere. He's going to and the Hagbala from Torah, when it says King David without the Yud, this indicates on the Halbasha Shalom how King David was in the nature of the world, like we said before in long length. According to this, Daled, we can also understand why the Sudas Mashiach, the meal that we make on the last day of Passover, is a minhag. It's just a custom of the Jewish people. It's not like the Lava Molka, which is a law in the Shulchan Aruch. Al Pi Mavur, according to what we said before, because the thing of being a custom of the Jewish people, this Mashiach meal we make on Passover, vi minhag simcha, like for instance, like the hakafas on Simchas Torah, like on Simchas Torah we dance around the hakafas, we dance around the last day of Passover in Simchas Torah. This is just a custom, and this is a custom in some ways is higher than a law of the Torah. Why? A law which is written in the Torah, in the written Torah and the oral Torah. Also, there's the and pass on Sukkot. There's also what's called the water pouring ceremony, water drawing ceremony, and thus nemt sich from shorsho from a ort versus noch hecher from Gilead Torah. Sometimes the customs of the Torah, in some ways, are even higher than the Torah itself. How can you possibly say a thing like that? How can the customs of the Torah be higher than the Torah itself? Because, one second. Why? Why? Therefore, can them knit up because the customs cannot come down to be revealed in a revealed way in the Torah. It's hidden. Also, we can say the same thing about the meal of the Mashiach in Passover that we make, as Vibol das is gewunde, because this was connected to the idea of the full important, the full, how do you say, nature of Mashiach, amazing miracles, which is totally above any nature whatsoever. So this is like customs which were concealed. They're higher even than the Torah. From the level of Bechor, even from the level of from Bechinas Bechor. Therefore, Hodem Nit, Gekent Nizgalaveren, therefore it cannot be revealed. I have to look at this. I don't understand what this is. Okay, Veren also din on Shulchan Aruch. Therefore, it cannot be revealed as a law in the Shulchan Aruch. Interesting. I have to look this. Maybe I'm reading something wrong. Okay. Anyway, the meal that we make, the Mashiach meal that was revealed by the Baal Shem Tov in Pesach, this is just a custom. But it comes from a level of the Torah which can't be revealed in the Torah. Nor does his Nizgal, it was only revealed as a custom. Okay. So again, what's the Rebbe trying to say? Mashiach will do big miracles. Amazing miracles. He'll bring the third temple from heaven, etc. That's how Mashiach is going to be a full king, a Caesar. And he'll convince all of the non-Jews to change their attitude toward life, all of them, and to connect to the Creator who's creating them. That's the Caesar, a big miracles. But on the other hand, he's going to be like King David. That's like a half Caesar. What does it mean? That after these big miracles, which are only going to be once in a while, that's like the Mashiach meal we make on Passover, just once temporary, so to speak, then there won't be necessity. The world will be able to function without these big miracles. And that's what God wants, that nature itself will be revealed to be godly. Nosef Tzedem, in addition to the revelation of the last day of Passover and the Suda Mashiach, every year also comes an addition. And what the last day of Passover this year is in Parsha Shmini, if that's relevant to us. This week is Parsha Shmini. Shmini we read in the Torah. The 8th day, it says the 8th day. That was the day that the tabernacle opened up. Ubezeh, first day the tabernacle opened up in the desert. After the 7 days of inauguration, the 7 days of preparation, the 7 days of Miluim, it's called, then the 8th day. Bezeh Gufo, this, we learn that Parsha Shmini is read 8 times. This we don't read it 8 times this year. We read it, I think, what is it, 6 times. There's sometimes when Parsha Shmini is read 8 times. Like we said before, that it says in the Hasidic Poland, the Polish Hasidim, they say, Shmini, Shmone, Shmeina. If Parsha Shmini, that's this week's Parsha, is read 8 times, Shmona, then Shmeina, then the year is fat. Vos heis, this means as a yor vis melekt Shmini, when we Lent, when we read Shmini 8 times, that's on Shmini, it'll be a fat, successful year. But Yesh Loma, we can say that the connection with this is, that's the connection with the Sudat Mashiach in the last day of Passover. The number 8, this indicates on the what is it, the harp of the Mashiach. It says in the Holy Temple, the harp had 7 strings on it, and in the future, it says the harp of Mashiach is going to have 8 strings. What's been Shmon and Nimi is going to have 8 strings, number 8. Circumcision is also the 8th day, right? It's above nature. Shabbat is only 7. That's nature. It keeps repeating, but the number 8 is above nature. The language of Chassidut, which is connected to an answer from the Rebbe, the Rashba, right, says, Shlomo ben Aderet is one of the main holy commentaries on the Talmud. As Shemini, the number 8, this indicates of a light of godliness, which is higher from any involvement in the world. This is a light of God. Is above the whole, all spiritual levels. And this is Shomer al-Hekef, and this is what protects the whole world. And when we read Parsha Shmini 8 times, as hot men in Shmini Guf, we have in it the number 8, a completion from the number 8. 8 times means miracles of miracles. Okay, this year we don't read it 8 times, but the miracles that happened in that year, they still are here. It's been drawn into the world. Und das tut euch, this brings about, Azet Zolzain, there should be a fat year. And like it says, Shemen was Ketoif Mashiach, it's talking about the Shemen, which is Mashiach. Mashiach is anointed with oil. Shemen also means fat, but it also means oil. Hashem Mashiach, that he's anointed with oil. Shmini, this we read Shmini, Shemen. Matzati Dovid, Avdi, like it says, I have found King David, B'Shemen Kodshi Meshachtiv. I have anointed him with holy oil. It's in Psalms. Read that. I have anointed him with oil. Ubespirot, and spirit, that this is the aspect of Chachma. Oil is God's Chachma, the highest of the 10 spirot. Was this Hecher, which is higher than the whole entire order of creation. Like it is like oil, which oil floats above wine and water and etc. and all other liquids. Und zusammen, together with this, Verdarfan Nimshach in ganze Seder Shtalshus. Not only will Mashiach be above nature, but it will affect all of nature, so that nature will, the laws of nature will not stop. People won't start flying up in the air or whatever it is. Al derech vishemen, like oil it floats above everything, but oil also permeates everything. You get a little oil stain on your garment, it spreads out to the whole thing. So on one hand, oil is above everything. That's Mashiach. He's anointed with oil, but also that's like the level of Kesar. But also Mashiach is like oil, anointed with oil. It says also oil spreads out. It permeates the whole creation. Like we said, like oil is mafafea, that it spreads out through everything in the world. That's the idea of the eighth day. What does is, this is the whole idea of Mashiach. The Mashiach will bring about in the whole entire creation, with every detail of the creation, that it should be that God will be the ruler. He'll fix up the whole world with Malchus Shaddai. And so therefore, all of this thing is found in this year's Mashiach meal that we had. We're going to have this year, the year 1988. So I think that this is it. Oh, so this, God willing, we're going to do tomorrow. This we'll do tomorrow. Good. This we're going to finish tomorrow. We got the main points today. We're on 11, right? Chapter 11. Here we go. Here we go.